Welcome back everyone. Today on Bad Day HQ, we're counting down the deadliest landslides ever recorded. Landslides are specifically movement of rock, earth or debris down a sloped section of land. In the United States alone, they are estimated to cause roughly $3.5 billion a year in damages. Number 10. Sichuan China, August 1933. On the 5th of August, a magnitude 7.3 earthquake hit central mainland China. The quake destroyed the local town of Dixi and the surrounding villages, including multiple intense landslides along the Min River. This event, known as the Dixi Slides, claimed more than 3,000 lives. A series of giant landslides created dams along the river, and the old town of Dixi was completely submerged by this event. Number 9. Kite Tajikistan, July 1949. On the 10th of July, a series of landslides engulfed the small nation of Tajikistan after a 7.4 magnitude earthquake. The landslides led to widespread rock slope failure, and many coalesced to form a mass flow in the Yasmin Valley. The villages of Kite and Kazorog were overwhelmed, and 800 people were killed. Over 4,000 people lost their lives as a direct result of the mass landslides. Number 8. Ranharka Peru, January 1962. The small village of Ranharka and its inhabitants were totally destroyed when the tallest mountain in the Andes, Huascaran, began to thaw, triggering an avalanche of rocks and ice. The Peruvian peak, reaching 22,000 feet tall, is estimated to have killed 2,000 people from the village. It's believed millions of tons of snow, rocks, mud and debris tumbled down the extinct volcano. The event involved an ice sheet about a kilometre long. The mayor of Ranharka said only about 50 of its inhabitants survived. Quote, "In 8 minutes, Ranharka was wiped off the map." The head of the Peruvian Emergency Services claimed it was like a scene from Dante's Inferno. That's not the kind of comparison you want to be hearing. The disaster of biblical proportions was reported by local authorities to have claimed 4,500 lives. Number 7. Ancash, Peru, December 1941. A retreating glacier above the city led to meltwater overflowing Lake Palcacocha, releasing a cascade of water and debris to smash into the city of Huaraz below. An avalanche collapsed into the lake, causing the dam holding it back to erupt. A heavy mixture of sediment, ice, and water flowed through the valley until it joined another lake, combining their power. The sheer volume of the combined mass of rock and ice crumbled a third of the town and killed over 5,000 people. Number 6. East Java, Indonesia, May 1919. The major eruption of Mount Kelud, one of the worst in the 20th century, is estimated to have killed 5,160 people. The eruption triggered a massive lava debris landslide and displayed a crater lake which at the time had a volume of roughly 40 million cubic meters. The crater was filled with large volumes of ash, which created enormous mudflows that were extremely destructive. The mudflows, combined with volcanic material, formed lahars and continued to gather large amounts of sediment and rock, gaining momentum and velocity. Mount Kelud is infamous for being extremely active, and the people of Indonesia have consistent scares with the volcano. Most recently, in 2014, an eruption caused 76,000 residents to evacuate their homes. Number 5. Kedarnath, India, June 2013. One of the worst natural disasters to ever hit the Indian subcontinent occurred in June of 2013 when the heaviest rains in 80 years hit the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand. Consistent monsoons and cloudbursts were responsible for swelling rivers and creating powerful flash mudslides, killing 5,700 people. In recent years, the region had become extremely fragile and prone to disaster due to human activities. Unchecked tourism had promoted rapid growth of hotels, roads and shops. The demand for infrastructure caused a lax on environmental laws, and the needs of the ecosphere were neglected. The floodwater had no outlet since the usual runoff paths had been built upon, hence the lethal conditions of the mudslides. Number 4. Yunai, Peru, May 1970. In May 1970, the Huascaran mountain in the Andes returned again to devastate the local region. An earthquake triggered a massive landslide of rock and snow to crash from the mountain's peak. The avalanche buried the towns of Yunai and Ranharka, causing the deadliest avalanche-related disaster in history. The peak of the Huascaran had long been known to be a frequent instigator of avalanches. The event in 1970 was caused by a destabilized glacier and snow mass which surged downhill, becoming a flash mudflow as it accumulated large volumes of loose dirt and rock. The death toll was estimated at 22,000 people, and the avalanche travelled a distance of 16.5 kilometers. Number 3. Tolima, Colombia, November 1985. The stratovolcano, called the Nevado del Ruiz in the Colombian Andes, erupted and generated 4 massive lahar flows, resulting in one of the deadliest natural disasters in the 20th century. One of the flows completely engulfed the city of Armero. There were strong geological indicators, such as mild earthquakes and a veneer of fine ash over the snow near the summit, that warned of the imminent eruption for a year. The warnings were either ignored or not addressed by the government, and an evacuation plan was not implemented. 23,000 people died as a result. Number 2. Vargas, Venezuela, December 1999. Upon the cusp of the millennium, heavy rainfall triggered a barrage of large and small floods. After 10 days of torrential rain, mudslides eclipsed entire towns. Carmen de Uraya and Cerro Grande completely vanished under deep, thick mud. Hundreds of homes were simply swept away into the ocean. 10% of the population of the state of Vargas died in the episode. 30,000 lives were lost. The government called a state of emergency early on in the disaster, and the Venezuelan and the American Red Cross were very quick to join the relief force. If the state of emergency wasn't called, the casualties would have been far more severe. Well done, Venezuela. Number 1. Ningxia, China, December 1920. The second deadliest earthquake in the 20th century, the Haiwan earthquake in China, generated 675 major landslides, causing massive destruction to the property and lives of the local people. A true calamity, the episode struck the rural district of Haiwan, near the Yellow River, and claimed over 100,000 lives. The sheer intensity of mudslides affected an area 20,000 square kilometers wide. The county lost 50% of its population in the disaster. Entire villages were buried beneath sediment and mud. The disaster occurred in the early years of the rising civil war in the Chinese Republic. The disaster was massively overshadowed by political and humanitarian crises elsewhere in the country. Despite the scale and destructive power of the event, it remains remarkably unknown. These landslides make disaster films look tame. Which one was the worst for you? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this top 10 and you wanted to see others and content like it, then please subscribe to Bad Day HQ. This has been Josh, and I'll see you next time.